of the county, and the purpose of which is to facilitate the establishment of Islam as our way of life and to contribute to the improvement of the quality of life for the neighbors and people of this county, Muslim as well as non-Muslim. And now I'd like to introduce Ms. Ahmed for a short Quranic recitation as well as transmission.
أعوذ بأنفسكم أزواجا لتسكنوا إليها وجعل بينكم مودة ورحمة إن في ذلك لآيات لقوم يتفكرون ومن آياته خلق السماوات والأرض واختلاف ألسنتكم وألوانكم إن في ذلك لآيات للعالمين ومن آياته منامكم بالليل والنهار وابتغاؤكم من فضله إن في ذلك لآيات لقوم يسمعون ومن آياته يريكم البرق خوفا وطمعا وينزل من السماء ماء فيحيي به الأرض بعد موتها إن في ذلك لآيات لقوم يعقلون ومن آياته أن تقوم السماء والأرض بأمره ثم إذا دعاكم دعوة من الأرض إذا أنتم تخرجون وله من في السماوات والأرض كل له قانتون وهو الذي يبدأ الخلق ثم يعيده وهو أهون عليه وله المثل الأعلى في السماوات والأرض وهو العزيز الحكيم صدق الله العظيم. In the name of God, the most gracious, most merciful. So glorify your Lord when you retire at night and when you rise in the morning. And to him is all praise in the heavens and on earth, and in the evening and when you reach midday. He brings the living out of the dead and brings the dead out of the living, and he revives the land after it had died. Likewise, you will be resurrected. And of his signs is that he created you from dust, and behold, you become humans spreading out. And of his signs is that he created for you mates from among yourselves, and that you may find tranquility in them, and he planted love and compassion between you. And this are signs for people who reflect. And of his signs is the creation of the heavens and the earth, and the diversity of your languages and colors. And this are signs for those who know. And of his signs are your sleep by night and day, and your pursuit of his bounty. And this are signs for people who listen. And of his signs is that he shows you the lightning, causing fear and hope. And he brings down water from the sky, and with it he revives the earth after its lifelessness. And this are signs for people who understand. And of his signs is that the heaven and the earth stand at his disposal. And when he calls you out of the earth, you will emerge at once. And to him belongs everyone in the heavens and the earth. All are submissive to him. It is he who initiates creation and then repeats it. To him is the highest attribute in the heavens and the earth. He is the Almighty, all-wise. God Almighty speaks the truth.
But there are also 2 microphones for oral questions too. And what we're going to do is we're going to take 2 written questions for each oral question. So we'll do 2 written and 1 oral and so on and so forth. Key thing with the oral questions is you have up to 1 minute to, if you need to set up and then ask your question. And 1 minute only, and I'll be timing you. So, no speeches. If you want to make a speech, run for office in Prince George's County, and we'll bring you up here and we'll let you make a speech. So that's what, obviously you have the right to ask whatever questions you want regarding legislation and positions. Just be respectful, but be direct. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Congressman Hoyer, and I'm going to start with this, kind of give a background for you to speak on. Democrats are back in the majority after 8 years. What are the priority legislative items on the agenda? Of those items, what has the most realistic chance of passing the Republican-controlled Senate and being signed by the President? In essence, Congressman, what is the agenda that Democrats have in the House?
Well, Jamil, first, let me thank you for inviting me here. This is my third visit. 2 were positive, and 1 was a positive service, but we lost a brave officer from the Prince George County Police Department. Some of you, I'm sure, were here. But I'm always pleased to come back to visit with all of you. I'm particularly pleased to be here in Prince George's County with all of you, because I grew up in Prince George's County, lived in Prince George County most of my life, and some of you know I now live down in St. Mary's County. We are a very divided country. That is self-evident. Because we're divided on issues, when the parties change, unlike historically, the differences used to be not quite so stark. The differences between the 2 parties now are very great. So that when the majority changes, it has significant consequences. And when Jamil asked me, what does it mean that Democrats were elected to the majority? Well, let me tell you some of the things I think that are our priorities that are different, that we will focus on. Let me start with health care, because health care is essential. It's not an option. When we were last in the majority, in 07 to January of 2011, we passed what we called the Affordable Care Act. The Affordable Care Act was not overwhelmingly popular when we passed it. But as soon as Trump was elected and the Republicans controlled the House and Senate, and they wanted to take away the Affordable Care Act, it became much more popular. The reason for that is people were concerned about what they were going to lose. Access to affordable quality health care. One of the major issues of the last election, as I think all of you heard, was making sure that a pre-existing condition did not preclude you from getting insurance. So one of our top priorities, now that we control the House of Representatives, not the United States Senate, but the House of Representatives, is to pass legislation, at least through the House, that will protect people with a pre-existing condition so that they will be able to get insurance. And the insurance company will say, no, you have asthma, you have diabetes, you have cancer, whatever pre-existing condition you might have had, that will not preclude you from getting insurance. So that's a big priority. We also talked about the costs of health care, and in particular the cost of prescription drugs. Because prescription drugs, only recent, those of us who have gray hair, we remember when prescription drugs were not as important a facet of healthcare as they are today. Today, a doctor would be incompetent if a doctor did not know how to utilize medicines to prevent, to ameliorate, or to cure illness. I don't know how many of you take, I'm not going to ask for show of hands, but I take a cholesterol drug every evening to keep my cholesterol levels low. And by doing so, I'm healthier, less likely to have a heart attack. I can afford that. First of all, I have insurance. Secondly, even if I didn't have insurance, I'd be able to afford that. But literally millions of people could not, if they didn't have insurance, afford a cholesterol drug or any other drug that they may be using, pharmaceutical they may be using to keep themselves healthy or to get. So that's a priority. Both the Affordable Care Act, protecting pre-existing conditions, making sure that they're affordable, that people can afford them. How do you do that? By having people who can afford, giving them some help. Make sure that they have some additional dollars to pay their premium, to pay their co-pays, to purchase their prescription drugs. If we want to get the prescription drug costs down, let me say, I know a question's coming, and we'll do things bipartisan. The president says he wants to bring prescription drug costs down. I don't know whether he means it, but if he does, then that's something that we can work together with. We also want to deal with climate change. We believe climate change is real. We think protection of the environment is critical. That will be one of our priorities, as it was when we were last in control. But our Republican brethren in the House of Representatives say, well, climate change may be real, but it's not caused by man, so nothing man does will ameliorate it, will alleviate it. We don't believe that. We believe there are things we can do to make our air cleaner, our water cleaner, to make our Earth less likely to heat so that the oceans will rise, inundating literally much of where people live. We also we're very, very concerned about gun violence. As a result, one of the things that we're going to do in the very near future is to bring a bill to the floor which will require universal background check. Right now, it's only some transactions that are covered. And there are so many loopholes. For instance, if you're on a terrorist watch list, that does not necessarily preclude you from being. If you have a history of mental imbalance, that does not necessarily preclude you. If you're a domestic abuser, that does not necessarily preclude you from getting a gun. We think that while it's a Second Amendment right to have a gun, the Supreme Court has said you can have some limitations on that right. Why? To keep the rest of us safe. So we're going to pursue that. We also want to make sure that every child in America has a quality education. And one of our priorities will be both legislation, which makes sure that we have a public education system, not to denigrate a private, but to make sure that every child does have access to a quality education, because we know that education is the key to success. So that I can talk about a lot more priorities, but I want to end with this one: jobs and decent wages for workers. One of the first things we had a hearing on was the minimum wage. The minimum wage in America now is $7.25 an hour. That is 40% less purchasing power than it was in 1968. Is there any wonder why so many people are angry and frustrated because they're working a full-time job and they can't support themselves, much less a family?
Come on.
You can't rent an apartment in Prince George's County on $7.25 an hour. So one of the things we said to people when we were running for election, we're going to be for increasing that. Because when you increase the minimum wage, it's not just those who are making the minimum wage you increase. It has an impact on salaries at all levels. we believe that nobody ought to be working a full-time job and living in poverty in America, the richest land on the face of the earth. So those are some of the priorities that we have. Not all, perhaps I'll get to discuss others. But we have a limited period of time, so I don't want to go on forever.
One thing I want to do is I want to acknowledge the presence of one of our state delegates from the District 24, Lewis, who's in the back. I don't know why